So that's the point of this second page. Let's do 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you would graph 5, that's just a horizontal or constant. If you graph this, does anybody know what happens? Does anybody know what the -4 does to my problem? The -4
Turns it upside down.
goes to the, no, the -4 will go to the right 4, and the -5 will take it down 5. So you're gonna go to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a positive out in front of it, so it's gonna be opening up somehow. So I don't know. You guys have graphing calculators? So if you type in the left-hand side, y1, you type in the right-hand side, y2, you should get the same picture. Now, the reason why we're showing you this is we get to the exam, and most of you forget to do the positive and negative situations when you solve it. And you lose a lot of points because you're not real accurate. So, the graph will have how many solutions? 2. Okay? So, with somebody near you, I want you to solve this equation. Quickly solve this equation. Alright, so you should have probably added 5 on both sides. When you add 5, it looks like I'm getting 10. Square root of 10, or square root on both sides, I get x minus 4 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 10. Is the square root of 10 a nice number? No. Just leave it. Just leave it.
Wait, leave it as a square.
Yeah. If you want to go to the decimal, that would be okay. If you know, some students just really like it, but I think it's just easy. Leave a square root of 10. What do you have to do next? Add 4 to both sides. So what we end up with is 4 plus or minus the square root of 10. That's when you leave your answer plus or minus. Because square root of 10 is not a nice number, but what it is, that's what you call an exact value. Typically in math, we want exact values. There's no simplifying that can be done. Does anybody have the 2 decimals? What? 3.16 and 1.1.
I got 7.
Yeah, 7.16.
7.16 and 3.19.
No, I got 7.84.
Okay, people, what's 4 plus the square root of 10? That's this.
7.4.
And 4 minus something that's a little bit more than 3 should be positive what? Positive 0.9. Those should be your 2 decimals. What is x minus 3 going to look like? The absolute value of x minus 3. Again, you could go to y equals and do it, but it's a shift to the right 3, and it will shift up 3. So you have a v that goes to the right 3, up 3. That's that part of the graph. And if I do 2, that's right there. So how many solutions are there?
0.
So don't bother solving this equation, right?
Wait, is that for all F?
No, just in this situation. So for practice, do you have? What would I have to do to be able to solve this problem? I could switch the 3 to a negative number, or I could switch the 2 to a larger number. So for practice, let's go ahead and switch that to a -3. So what that's going to do now, you can put on scratch paper somewhere or do whatever. Now that's going to move me down 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's still to the right 3, down 3, and 2 is there. Now how many solutions will we have? 2. So switch this to a -3. Solve it again. Show the person sitting next to you quickly. So this is a new example, I switched it up. Get the absolute value by itself. When is your x minus 3 going to be equal to 5? So the red one represents the positive. Just drop the absolute value, solve it. I get 8. If I put the negative in front of what was an absolute value, then divide by -1 first, then add the 3, I get x is -2 would be your 2 solutions. So the original one on the packet, no solutions. This one, we're getting 2. Zero solutions, 1 solution, 2 solutions. When you're dealing with the square root, a squared part of the equation, or an absolute value. When are we gonna, the table is supposed to help you figure out when you're gonna have 0, 1, or 2. So today what I want you to do, and we'll come back to visit this, we can fill it out. But as you're looking at the problems that you've been doing, for instance, when are you going to get 0 solutions for an absolute value? So you've isolated your absolute value, got it all by itself. When are you going to have 0 solutions? When you have, I guess let's say, when you have your absolute value equal to a negative, right? So if you do all your work and your absolute value is by itself, and that's equal to a negative, you're going to have 0 solutions. Does anybody know when you're going to have only 1 solution? When your absolute value is isolated, so you get your absolute value all by itself and it's equal to 0, then you're only going to have 1 solution. You'll have 2 solutions when it's absolute value equal to some positive number. So if it's equal to a positive number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, you're going to end up with 2 solutions. So I want you to think about that situation. We can fill it in later. Solve the equation. Before you do that, you should probably think about how many solutions you're going to have. So if I divide by -2, x plus 8 is equal to -3. So think of a number that when you take the square root, you get a negative solution. So if you draw the square root of 8 graph, it looks something like this. When is it touching -3? Never. So there's a 0 situation. So again, in a problem up here, you know, if you have a square root graph, when are you getting 0 solutions? When the square root equals a negative number. When is your, are you ever going to get 2 solutions out of this? If you draw a horizontal line, so you can ever hit this graph twice? No, so you'll never get 2 solutions there. 1 solution if it's 0 or more. Stuff like that. Quickly, with somebody sitting near you, solve number 4. Key to it, get your absolute value all by itself.